all that's going to go.
The race to escape raging wildfires across the prairies this Thursday night.
Got 30 minutes to get out.
The uncertainty for evacuees, the help on the way, and what's in the forecast. New obstacles for the U.S. president's tariffs, how the White House is responding after a court blocked his import taxes, and how Canada is reacting. Israel approves its expansion of illegal settlements in the occupied West Bank, what it means for Palestinians. And sky-high skepticism. The paraglider who claims a cloud sucked him up into the air.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. Thousands of people across the prairies are on the move because of raging wildfires. Today, Saskatchewan declared a province-wide state of emergency. Manitoba did the same thing yesterday. These pictures are from south of Flin Flon, Manitoba, near the Saskatchewan border. Flames are threatening communities and First Nations in central and northern regions, forcing people to flee. Most of the fires are out of control. Saskatchewan officials say it hasn't been this bad this early in the season in decades.
I do fear things are going to deteriorate with the weather that we have ahead of us, but working very closely with the province of Manitoba. We're in this together, and not just in our two provinces, but largely in our two provinces.
There are about 30 intense fires burning in Saskatchewan and Manitoba right now, several of them ferocious. Beyond those provinces, there are 160 active wildfires burning across the country. Right now, though, it's western provinces that are hardest hit. We begin our coverage in Manitoba, where 17,000 people are under evacuation orders. They've been told to head to Winnipeg. Melissa Ridgen is at an evacuation center there. Melissa.
Donna, when people come in from their 9-hour drive, this is where they check in. They get a sandwich and a drink, and they learn what resources are in the city and where they'll be staying. Winnipeg is preparing for some 17,500 people coming here, fleeing fires that are burning near communities in the northern parts of the province.
Sisters Lily and Driana Dumas drove through the night with their parents from Puckatawagan.
The cops came and said we had to leave. It was so long until I got hungry. I'm really scared that everything's going to be burnt, even my tablets at home.
Prime Minister Mark Carney offered Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew Ottawa's full support as the province declared a state of emergency Wednesday, with evacuation orders issued for 6 communities, including Flin Flon. Kinew calling it the largest evacuation in recent memory. Pimachikamak Chief David Monias tells Global News a fast-moving fire there left only one escape out of his community.
So our escape road towards Highway 6 was cut off. So we only had the escape road to Norhouse. So, and planes couldn't land really here. The only next thing we could do is send planes over to Norhouse and pick up our people.
The Canadian Armed Forces sent aircraft to Norway House to help with the evacuations. While Highway 6, known as the highway to the north, is now full of traffic as folks head to Winnipeg. Mayor Scott Gillingham says the city is ready for whatever is needed.
Manitobans are wonderful people. When a time of crisis hits, we come together, we stand together, we support one another as neighbors. And, I know Winnipeggers have done it in the past. I know that they'll do it again.
What many are talking about, it's the bad news in the forecast. This warm weather and no rain is expected for northern regions of Manitoba, where many of the fires are still burning. So no one knows how long this evacuation will last, Donna.
Melissa Ridgen in Winnipeg, thanks. That is the picture in Manitoba. It's dire in Saskatchewan and Alberta, too. It's been hot and dry in many areas, and strong winds are causing extreme fire conditions in both provinces. There have been some frightening escapes there, too, in communities that have only one road out. Heather Yourex-West reports.
A harrowing drive under a blood-red sky. For hundreds of northern Alberta residents, the evacuation order came in the middle of the night.
Oh, we're just getting ready for bed, and all of a sudden the alarm went off on the phone there. We had 30 minutes to get out, I guess.
I was angry, I was sad. Now I'm making dark jokes about it, and it's whatever, it's horrible.
It's going to be a challenging environment for us for the next 24 hours. We're looking for prolonged hot, dry, lots of wind, so that's not great for us in terms of the ability for wildfires to spread.
In Alberta, there are 24 out-of-control wildfires, the worst burning near remote northern communities. And in neighboring Saskatchewan, at least 8 wildfires are yet to be contained.
It's a very serious situation that we're faced with in Saskatchewan.
But with no significant rain in the forecast, the Saskatchewan Premier says there will be difficult days ahead. A state of emergency declared across the province Thursday will remain in effect for the next 2 weeks.
As of today, we know or have confirmed 44 values or 44 structures have been lost to the wildfires, but we're still assessing other areas.
More than 5,500 members of the Peter Ballantine Cree Nation north of Prince Albert among those who have been forced from their homes. In all, 15 communities across Saskatchewan have been evacuated. From the other side of the country, help is on the way, with 20 Nova Scotia wildland firefighters boarding a Saskatchewan-bound plane Thursday morning.
It's part of the work that we do. All Canadian provinces are prepared to share at times when the need arises.
And across the prairies, under the hot, dry sun, the need right now is great. Heather Yourex-West, Global News, Calgary.
Crews are also battling an out-of-control wildfire near Churchill Falls in Newfoundland and Labrador. It started yesterday and has burned about 170 hectares. 2 helicopters are providing air support to firefighters on the ground. Officials say the fire is becoming less active and is moving east away from the town now. Cooler temperatures and rain in the forecast tomorrow are expected to help. Global News meteorologist Anthony Farnell is with me. Anthony, it's been so hot and dry across the prairies, especially in northern areas. Is this a sign of what's to come through the summer?
Well, Donna, the news isn't great for the summer ahead. We're expecting hot and dry conditions. Today, a prime example. This is the fire risk map from northern BC in red. Extreme risk through the prairies into Ontario, Quebec, and even Labrador, where there are fires burning as well. So the risk stays extreme into the weekend. And as we go ahead, June, July, August, our summer forecast has above normal temperatures just about everywhere and a higher likelihood of heat domes here in the prairies. I know BC haven't had too many fires yet. That is also likely to change as this season wears on. But right now, this is from space via our visible satellite. You can see these, what look like chimneys, a lot of smoke as the fires flare up. Strong south winds ahead of a cold front. Less wind in Saskatchewan and Manitoba, but that's also causing problems because stagnant air leads to air quality issues, and there are alerts in place. So what's going to change? Well, over the next couple of days, we've got 2 fronts that are moving through. The first may have thunderstorms with it. You don't want more lightning strikes or a wind change. Unfortunately, there isn't a lot of rain with that front, but there is everything else. Now, the next front comes through Saturday in Alberta and then across the rest of the prairies. This will have more wind with it, but possibly more rain and a pattern change. And what we really need are cooler temperatures. Today's highs in the low 30s. That's what's leading to that erratic and extreme fire behavior. Donna?
That is very hot. Global News meteorologist Anthony Farnell, thank you. A 15-year-old in Alberta has been arrested for a terrorism offense after an RCMP investigation linked to a violent online network that targets vulnerable children. Investigators say the transnational group has extreme ideological views and lures youth to commit sexual acts, self-harm, and torture animals. And they say they feared the Edmonton area teenager would commit an offense. The 15-year-old, who cannot be named, was taken into custody on May 12th by the Integrated National Security Enforcement Team. It has been quite a day for the American president's trade war. Late yesterday, a U.S. federal trade court blocked the sweeping tariffs Donald Trump imposed on multiple countries. He enacted them unilaterally, and the court ruled he didn't have the authority to do that. The White House was furious and appealed to another court, which has allowed the tariffs to remain in place for now. But it is far from the end of the story, as Jackson Proskow reports.
This will be indeed the golden age of America. It's coming back, and we're going to come back very strongly.
The hype of President Donald Trump's Liberation Day,
we're going to charge them 46% tariff,
has given way to the reality that his universal reciprocal tariffs are on shaky ground. Declared illegal by the U.S. Court of International Trade, then reinstated, pending further court decisions after the White House challenged the ruling.
There is a troubling and dangerous trend of unelected judges inserting themselves into the presidential decision-making process.
The trade court had ruled Trump overstepped his authority when he unilaterally imposed tariffs under the guise of a national security threat. A second federal court agreed, though tariffs on steel, aluminum, and automobiles, including those from Canada, were allowed to remain. Ilya Somin brought the lawsuit.
The real threat to national security here is that the president is massively damaging our economy and poisoning our relationship with allies like Canada by starting this huge trade war.
The White House dismissed the ruling as a mere hiccup and urged the Supreme Court to ultimately take up the case.
And we're going to win on the merits of these cases because we know we are acting within the president's legal and executive authorities.
Until that happens, uncertainty reigns. Countries no longer have an incentive to strike a trade deal they may not need. Businesses don't know what to expect in the long term after weeks of tariff rates changing on the president's whim.
So you can assume that even if we lose, we will do it another way. And I can assure the American people that the Trump tariff agenda is alive, well, healthy, and will be implemented.
Of course, if Trump wanted to keep the tariffs in place without any question, he could simply ask Congress to pass them into law. But given the huge risk to the economy and consumers, it's unlikely he'd find the support to make it happen. Donna?
Jackson, thanks. Canadians are watching the legal wrangling closely. No matter what happens, Prime Minister Mark Carney says Canada does need a new relationship with the United States, and it could be a long road. Mackenzie Gray is tracking reaction in Canada. Mackenzie.
It was a morning of optimism here on Parliament Hill, Donna, even if the tariff reprieve was fleeting.
The government welcomes yesterday's decision by the U.S. Court of International Trade.
But the Prime Minister recognized Canada is far from out of the woods.
It therefore remains the top priority of Canada's new government to establish a new economic and security relationship with the United States.
Wednesday night, the U.S. International Trade Court blocked the 25% tariff on non-CUSMA compliant goods going to the U.S., a short-lived stay after an appeals court temporarily reinstated them Thursday afternoon, leaving the Carney government scrambling.
The court just reinstated the tariffs, so this is a new decision by the appeals court right now. What do you think of that?
Let me look into it and then I can comment on it.
The case at hand didn't change the separate 25% tariff levied on so-called national security grounds, impacting non-free trade Canadian steel, aluminum, and autos.
We can make up to 2 million cars a year in this country. This year will probably be around 1.3, 1.4.
The final resolution on what will happen with the tariff legal challenge likely a ways away.
That's a process that could take a year. It's not going to resolve the issue right away.
Billions of dollars.
Despite the long timeline and constant tariff changes, the NDP believes the Canadian strategy shouldn't be altered.
Mr. Trump is chaotic and he changes day to day, and I don't think we can let that alter our position.
A position that the Premier of Saskatchewan believes the Americans are slowly starting to understand.
We're very hopeful and confident that the U.S. administration is coming to the realization of the importance of the trade relationship. That doesn't mean that our relationship with the U.S. isn't changed. I'd say it's changed to some degree for the foreseeable future.
Carney set to meet with Scott Moe and the rest of the premiers in Saskatoon starting on Sunday. Donna, an opportunity for the First Ministers to reevaluate the Canadian strategy to handle Trump.
All right, Mackenzie in Ottawa, thanks. A U.S. federal judge has extended a temporary order blocking the Trump administration's attempt to stop Harvard from enrolling international students. And it happened the same day as 9,000 Harvard grads received their diplomas.
Members of the class of 2025 from down the street, across the country, and around the world. Around the world, just as it should be.
Harvard's president received a standing ovation for that comment. The Trump administration has already canceled more than $2.6 billion in federal research grants to the university, and it's threatening to revoke Harvard's tax-exempt status. Israel expands settlements. Coming up, why plans for the new Jewish settlements in the occupied West Bank are being condemned. A humanitarian group says it is holding back 17 trucks filled with Canadian aid intended for Palestinians in Gaza because it says a new distribution system put in place by Israel is too dangerous.
This isn't a humanitarian solution. It is a form of control. Our donors did not give to support forced displacement or selective aid. They gave to help all Palestinians, wherever they are.
The group says food and medical supplies are sitting in limbo now after reports Israeli soldiers fired warning shots near the crowds of people rushing for food on Tuesday. At least one person was killed. There are calls for the federal government to reject the U.S. and Israeli-backed aid delivery system. The U.S. says Israel has agreed to a 60-day Gaza ceasefire it has proposed. The agreement would also reportedly include the release of several hostages who are still alive and the bodies of others who have died in captivity. There are reports Hamas is disappointed with the deal because it does not guarantee an end to the war or the famine. Israel is officially embarking on a large expansion of settlements in the occupied West Bank, the biggest in decades. 22 new settlements have been approved, though they are widely seen as illegal under international law, and critics say they will entrench the Israeli occupation even further. Redmond Shannon reports.
Reports of settler attacks on Palestinian villages like these have risen sharply since the start of the war in Gaza. This resident says Israeli troops looked on as Jewish settlers burned crops. Just days before, a group of settlers forced some residents of the village to leave. The Israelis had set up an outpost, a type of settlement not even formally recognized under Israeli law. But on Thursday, Israel approved 22 new settlements, including some existing outposts. Far-right Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich is a settler in the occupied West Bank and manages government planning on settlements. He called the move a once-in-a-generation decision. The next step, sovereignty, he said, repeating his desire that Israel not only prevent a Palestinian state, but annex the West Bank entirely. This one of the most significant proposed expansions in decades.
What we've seen changing in the last couple of years is how everything is being acted out so openly and blatantly to destroy Palestinian people.
Settlements are widely regarded as illegal under international law, often facilitated by the demolition of Palestinian homes. Anti-settlement campaigners say other countries need to do more than just condemn.
Some of them are actually assisting and complicit in those Israeli actions.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas called the expansion a dangerous escalation. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
One of the accused takes the stand ahead what Carter Hart said at the World Junior Sex Assault trial. For the first time, one of the hockey players accused of sexual assault has taken the stand at the trial of 5 former World Junior players in London, Ontario. Goaltender Carter Hart testified in his own defense after the Crown rested its case this morning. Karen Lieberman reports, and a warning, some of the testimony is graphic.
In a video submitted as evidence, Carter Hart is seen arriving at the Delta Armories Hotel at 2:46 a.m. on June 19, 2018, with players Alex Fermenton and Rob Thomas. Hart told court he'd received a text message from Mike McLeod about a 3-way in room 209, to which he'd replied, "I'm in." He said he also had a phone call with McLeod. The gist was Mike was with a girl back at the hotel who wanted to have sex with some of the boys being my teammates. In a police interview in November of that year, McLeod never mentioned a text or a call.
Before the food came, a few guys came in the room. I know Carter Hart was one of them.
Hart testified seeing EM on the floor of room 209 on a bedsheet masturbating. He said she seemed to be enjoying it. Hart said he was excited. "I'm 19 years old and there's a naked girl in the room doing these things willingly. I'd never seen something like this before." EM previously testified that she was naked, drunk, and afraid when men she didn't know suddenly started coming into the room, and that she went on autopilot as a coping mechanism as she engaged in what she says was non-consensual group sex with the 5 accused. Hart said he wasn't open to intercourse but asked instead for oral sex, later adding he became uncomfortable with other guys looking, calling it a weird thing. Hart also testified that EM became annoyed at one point that no one was having sex with her. So he texted teammate Dante Fabro, who he knew to be single, get to 209. Hart also said he recalled the complainant leading Alex Fermenton into the bathroom, which Fermenton told police in his interview.
She walked into the washroom and I followed her after, and that was when we had intercourse.
In cross-examination, Hart said he did not see any players being disrespectful to EM or degrade her. EM previously testified players spit on her, slapped her, and laughed at her. All 5 accused have pleaded not guilty. Donna.
Karen Lieberman, thank you. Bone-chilling flight next. The hard-to-believe video that has everyone on the edge of their seat. The dream season continues for Canada's basketball superstar. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has led the Oklahoma City Thunder to the NBA Finals for the second time in the team's history. SGA is now the first player since Steph Curry to reach the Finals and be named MVP in the same season. Well, you may have seen video of a paraglider in China. It takes your breath away. The 55-year-old says he went up far higher than he ever intended. He claims he was testing new equipment when he was swept up by what's called a cloud suck. It's a rare and powerful updraft that he says propelled him up more than 8,000 meters. That's the height of Mount Everest. At that altitude, the temperature can plummet to about -40 and the air is thin. He says he suffered severe frostbite but managed to land eventually. There is something in the footage that has eagle-eyed viewers asking questions. At one point, it looks like he's in an open harness with his legs dangling. It later appears he's bundled in a pod. Whatever the case, the man didn't register a flight plan, apparently, and for that, he has been suspended from paragliding for 6 months. That is Global National for this Thursday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Air Canada showcases Hillier, Ontario, Bloomfield, Newfoundland and Labrador, and the beach in White Rock, British Columbia. Thanks for watching and hope to see you here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.